and gratitude. This place we call Guelph has served as traditional lands and a place of refuge for many peoples over time, but more specifically, the Attawandarunk and the Haudenosaunee. This land is held as treaty lands and territory with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Guelph lies directly adjacent to the Haldimand Tract and is part of a long-established traditional hunting ground of the Six Nations of the Grand River. Many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples have come from across Turtle Island, call Guelph home today. Okay, so I'd like to start off by asking if there are any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Hearing none, I will declare that item closed. And this is the closed session resolution. Mayor Guthrie, I believe you have a motion to bring.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That staff be directed to provide $750 from the community account to victim services. Moved by myself, seconded by, I think it was Councillor Alt.
Okay. Councillor Alt, do you want to confirm that?
Actually, I think it was Jane Armstrong who seconded it. Jane, is that right?
Okay.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. All right, my apologies. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next, we have a delegation, and we call on the Investigative Support Internet Child Exploitation Unit with Detective Constable Hugh Curry, please.
Thank you, and oh, sorry, Chief.
Sorry, Chief Kobe, would you like to make the introduction? Sorry. Well, the technical gremlins seem to be out in force today.
I'm back. Can you hear me? Perfect.
Yes.
Sorry about that, folks. I wanted to just, so I had an opportunity last week to spend some time with council, and a number of questions came up, and I wanted the community to get to meet Hugh. Hugh has done countless presentations over the years with both victim services in our schools, in our community, and I realized that Hugh had never attended this forum to both kind of introduce himself to you at this meeting as well as the community. So Hugh has been with our service for a number of years. For about the last decade, he has played a very significant role both locally and provincially, supporting our investigations in relation to cybercrime, more specifically internet child exploitation. And I wanted to give Hugh a chance today to talk to the board, to talk a little bit about that unit, and then also to provide our community and parents with some safety tips or things they can be considering as we get ready to start the summer here in a couple of weeks. So Hugh, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you to the board for allowing me time to speak on this matter. Once again, my name is Hugh Curry. I'm in the Internet Child Exploitation Unit for the Guelph Police Service, also part of the provincial strategy, which is roughly 80 police officers and 27 police services throughout Ontario that is just dedicated to rescuing kids from online predators. Since the last year, we did a project called Project Aquatic, which in 1 week we rescued 34 victims and safeguarded 30 children. 64 people were charged, 348 charges were laid. We seized an astounding 607 devices from search warrants and arrests that we've done. And that was in conjunction with Guelph Police Service and other police services throughout Ontario. We just completed a luring investigation project, which we have a number of arrests, which will be released on a later date once all the stats come in. Part of my job is to give presentations to the community members, school boards, yourself, the board, on what we do. Internet safety is key. It's not going to go away. It's going to be here forever. So what we can do best is to safeguard our kids about what to see online and what to be prepared for online. Because I'm going to say every child will, at some point in their time before the age 12, will get, will see something they shouldn't be seeing, will be lured, will be talked to in a sexual manner by somebody they meet online who they think is a friend of theirs, but turns out there's not. All this can't be done without continued work with Crime Stoppers of Wellington. In conjunction, we have presented a numerous amount of presentations on a presentation called 5 Tips, 5 Ideas, and 5 Signs. It's in conjunction with human trafficking and internet safety, which goes side by side. And we present that to a large number of people. We just did one last week to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Community Wellington. Because of this role I have a number of opportunities. One of them is that I do teach at the Canadian Police College. I present at the Ontario Police College, and I also teach at the Algonquin Police College online course for cybercrime investigation. I am the cybercrime unit in the city of Guelph, so I have 2 roles. I deal with internet child exploitation along with cyber intrusions into companies. Part of this unit, because of what we do, wellness is at the forefront. Wellness is at the forefront for officers, but also for the community. I have a number of support services that I can rely on to help with the wellness of the community and myself, being Victim Services of Wellington, our local impact team. We have a company that we use called Boost, which has a number of outreaches to help companies and help families and individuals get the proper attention they need to get through the tough times of their child being lured online or something along those lines, whatnot. The continuing involvement of families, even well after a situation where their kids, is something that I stress that in this unit we have to do. Most investigations, we see the family for 1 or 2, 3 hours and we move on to the next thing. What's great about my unit is that I can go back a month later and check up on the families to make sure that their internet safety is up to date. They know what the kids should be looking at. The wellness and mental wellness of the family is up to date. If they need any more support, getting them that support. All this happens every day, every week, pretty much all the time. There is not one stop. And I can't do this without support, obviously, of my supervisors, senior leader management, which plays a key role in letting me sort of go about doing this and how I need to do it. And that's just a brief little oversight of what the unit is. Chief, we can't hear you. Hang on, you got a rescue coming.
Jane and I are laughing at the same thing, I think. Bill, you're blowing hearts.
Oh, it'll work. Maybe I just have to stop talking and then we're good. So Hugh, I know Hugh, you're going to talk about some safety tips and things like that, but I wanted to kind of, because it's come up at council, and our council has taken quite a leadership role, making sure we're having important discussions about intimate partner violence and different things. So for our community's perspective, like how prevalent is this work that you're doing in our city? Like how is the city of Guelph being impacted by this?
The city of Guelph is impacted as highly. It is very, very, very present in the community. Our kids are being lured online all the time. The problem with devices now is that the kids take the devices to bed. So now it's always happening out of the shot, out of the earshot, out of the eye view of their parents, and their parents don't see it. And it's happening all the time. The Guelph Police Service is doing everything to address this lack of what's going on. But with the lack of resources, education, and support to the families, it's tough for us to always be there to help them. We try our best. We are always open to talk to parents about stuff. It doesn't even have to be an investigation. I get emails from parents all the time, from schools, from school principals, school facilities, everything saying, we think this is going on. What can we do? I have a bunch of resources. I'll go to the school, talk to the principal, talk to the educators, and say, listen, this is what you need to look for, because it's here. It's not going away. It's going to get worse.
Okay. And what about, like if you are a parent and you're not sure, what would you want parents to know as far as resources that are available to them or their children?
Your biggest resource is us, the Guelph Police Service. The frontline officers have an understanding of what to do. If they don't know what to do, they call me. And I have a cell phone 24 hours a day. I'm there to email. I'm there to answer questions. Google it. Understand what applications your kids are using or what they want. If you go online and Google, how do I use Snapchat as a parent? It will come up with a plethora of information to let you know the downfalls and the up of the application your children want to use. You being armed with information about what your child wants before your child get it is the biggest protection that your child will get.
Okay. And then what about I guess it's people probably know this, but when in doubt, call us. And I know our board and council and community have heard me say this many times. When in doubt, call us so we can help. But what are some of the other kind of more seasonal or their yearly safety tips? But as we start the summer, what's some advice for kids and parents that you want people to be mindful of?
Yeah, for sure. Summer's here, and I know it's already happening because I'm already getting calls from parents and people in the community. Don't post personal information like your address or phone number on social media. I know it sounds like, yeah, no, why would anybody do that? People do it. Avoid check-ins. I know the only check-in I have is at Starbucks. That's because I want the points, but avoid check-ins. Don't be checking in everywhere you are because people track that, believe it or not. And I know I've seen it. Predators track where we are. Use secure passwords. Make sure your passwords are up to date. Just remember, when you update your iOS or your cell phone or your Android phone, it may knock all the passwords or it may knock all your privacy settings off your social media accounts. Do a double check. Make sure that all your passwords and privacy settings on your social media account are saved. And don't save your passwords on your phone, because if you lose your phone and people find your phone and get into your phone, they now have all your passwords. I know it's easy to do because it's always with us all the time, but we need to have our passwords saved somewhere else. And the biggest thing that I see all the time is people posting pictures of them on summer vacation. Look at me, I'm in the Bahamas now. Well, if I'm a bad guy, thank you very much. I'm going to your house now because I know you're 5,000 kilometers away and you're never going to know to get back, right? Or if you go away with another family and you're taking pictures of their kids, please, before you post pictures of another parent's kids, you ask permission of that family to post their pictures. A lot of parents don't want their kids' pictures online because once they're online, they're always online. They're never going away. So ask them, hey, it's okay if I take pictures and I post your pictures. Schools do it all the time. You have to give written consent for your kids to be put on their social media accounts. Parents, if you're going away and you're taking pictures of your child with their friends, please make sure to ask that family if it's okay to post their picture on your social media site.
Okay. And then I'm going to open it up to the board members to see if they have any questions. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you, because I think it's difficult, would not even begin to describe the work that you do. And so on behalf of us, and I know the board as well, thank you so much. But with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to open it up to the board to see if any board members have any questions.
Absolutely. Any questions? Okay. Okay, hearing none. I'm going to thank Detective Constable Curry. As a board, we're very, very, very appreciative of all that you put into this job and the passion you have for it and protecting the children in the community. And we're very grateful to have you here working on our behalf. So thank you very much for the presentation and for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you for the talk today.
And Mr. Chair, before we move this item, I see that Mel is here as well. And it's kind of timely because when we presented publicly to council last week, I got some important questions from our council about human trafficking and that work and intimate partner violence. So I wanted to give Mel, can you hear me, Mel? You want to turn your camera on?
Hi.
One of the key questions that I was asked last week at council in our update to them was, what does human trafficking in Guelph look like? And, I think people are surprised still that that's happening in our community. And I was specifically asked, how prevalent is that in our city? And you are the expert, and I wanted to give you a chance to respond to that.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate the attention that human trafficking and IPV is getting at this level, the board, but also to recognize and thank the leadership of Councillor O'Rourke and City Council for their ongoing support. I know it's been a topic of conversation. Just before I go further, when speaking of human trafficking, intimate partner violence, there's most cases has a level of intimate partner violence in the human trafficking cases. So they're very, very interrelated. And unfortunately, it is very, very prevalent in our community. Because we are part of the 401 corridor, this allows victims to be easily transported in and out of our community. To give you a better understanding, I will go back to the mini stick analogy, and that because it's very relatable to most people, in that you're at a hotel, there's sports teams there, there's a team of kids playing mini sticks in the hallway, which is great. You see the innocence of that, but behind the closed doors, human trafficking is occurring. It's a bit of a hidden offense because of that reason. I also recently attended a regional human trafficking conference in which our regional human trafficking crown was doing a presentation touching upon her benchmark cases, and each of those cases touched Guelph in some capacity, and she made a point of that actually, that Guelph was involved in each of those serious benchmark cases. So yes, it is very prevalent. I've spent half of my career in the Special Victims Unit, so I've been witness to the increase of that prevalence, but also, and I think it's more on the awareness and the education. So I've also been witness, which is great, to that increased awareness of human trafficking and education with regards to our community, which is great. In January, we did form a HT unit. It's in combination with our intimate partner violence unit. Again, because of the correlation with that. We've also had opportunity to provide courses for our frontline members so that they are more aware and that they can try to locate the red flags or be aware of the red flags, so that we have just more eyes and ears out there. So that's been really good. So we're heading in the right direction. But because of the extreme complexity of these investigations currently, we aren't equipped to educate, support, and enforce human trafficking as effectively as we could be. But again, heading in the right direction with regards to the education and awareness. It takes a village to investigate these things. But as far as stats go as well, I know it's always the hot topic. Human trafficking, extremely underreported for our purposes because of the complexity of investigation, the fear that's within the victim. So very, very underreported. But we do have the support of victim services. We have the support of women in crisis. So a lot of victims, even though they don't come to the police, we shouldn't say a lot, a few victims, even though they don't come to the police, they do get supports through human trafficking, women in crisis. In 2019, there was the human trafficking hotline that was set up by our government, Canadian government. And that's a 24/7 hotline, confidential, multilingual, and it connects victims and survivors with social services, law enforcement, emergency services. They also receive tips on human trafficking as well. So that's great. Again, to mention victim services, an amazing resource for us. Women in crisis, we have family and children services. We have the Guelph General Hospital sexual assault unit, IPV unit. So there are supports in our community, which is great. And again, it just comes down to resources to try to police this a little bit better than we're doing. But that's what's happening. It's very prevalent. but we're working on it.
Okay, and then my last question, Mel, is before I see if the board has any questions, would be if there was someone who is either a parent or a victim who's being impacted by what I think is a deplorable, it's a terrible, terrible crime. What supports or what advice can you give to maybe help?
There's so many red flags that are obvious to us because of our training, but maybe not to parents. So again, it goes to the education. We'll go into schools, we'll educate teachers. Again, with our resources, they're limited, but if we had 5 or 6 investigators, we could go into the teachers. It's educating hotel staff, hotels. It's educating the kids, right? Like who Hugh mentioned, he gets out to the schools and he works with Crime Stoppers and the HT. So we're trying, but it really comes down to education of everybody, because when you have a child who is potentially getting involved in that, the red flags are huge. But if you don't know what those red flags are, not as a parent, right? So that would, again, education would be probably the biggest factor. Just while I have your attention, just not a lot of people know this either, but the symbol of HT is a blue heart. So if you ever see that, that is a symbol of HT. And there is a July 30th is the World Day Against Human Trafficking. So that's just for everyone's knowledge.
Okay. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll open it up for questions.
Okay. Mayor Guthrie?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Melanie, I was just wondering, how is the connection between yourself, your department, and also trying to help connect, I would say, especially women through IPV, through to like women in crisis? I often hear that women in crisis, number one, they're great, but number two is that they're at capacity quite a bit. Are you finding that connection to be relevant, that there's problems in also trying to connect through to capacity issues in our shelter system especially for women?
Yeah, and I think we share that problem with other jurisdictions as well. There'll never be enough space, unfortunately. There are some waiting lists, they prioritize, but we work really closely with women in crisis. We work really closely with victim services. We have great relationships with all of our partners, community partners, but there's always going to be, unfortunately, a capacity problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councillor Alt?
Thank you very much for the report. It's a one question, but I think it's important for the public. You one phrase that you used was extremely underreported, and I was wondering if you could just provide a bit of the complexion about the whys and what we mean by extremely underreported. What's the reason for that, and what are we looking at that we estimate is the underreporting?
For sure. So the underreporting is because of the complexity of these types of offenses. It's not just you pick someone, you human traffic them. They are lured, they're groomed, they're manipulated, they're coerced, they're threatened. Their families can be threatened a lot of the times. So people always say, okay, well, they're in a hotel room. The offender is in a different city. Why don't they get out? Because the fear is real. Either the fear or whatever they are holding on to. It could be a drug addiction, right? And their offender is providing them drugs that keeps them alive. It could be that they're providing them food that keeps them alive. Some of these offenders will not feed these women for days, right? So it's the physiological needs are not being met, and so they depend so much on these people that they are not getting out. If they do get out, they are scared, right? So if they come out and report to the police, they've been threatened so much that, okay, what's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to this person? What's going to happen to this person? So they aren't report it. Half the times they don't know what jurisdiction they're in and what really happened to them, maybe because of the drug. So are the police going to believe me? Are they like, it's so complex to be able to sit here and explain it is difficult because it's so complex. As far as why it's under, they just will not come forward because of all of those reasons. And even if they do come forward, to manage a human trafficking victim that is before the courts is extremely difficult. They have been traumatized. I can't even explain the trauma that they've gone through. So to manage that is crazy hard. Yeah. So the underreported, as far as numbers, I can't tell you that. I have no idea. I just know it's really prevalent and that it is very underreported.
I want to thank you very much for all of your efforts and for that very clear outline of the challenges.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions for Detective Sergeant Clark? Hearing none, Detective Sergeant Clark, I'd like to thank you very much for your service to the community and what you're doing in this very important area. And thank you very much for giving us a good update today. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next item is to move the minutes of the May 16th open meeting. Could I please have a mover? Councillor Alt, seconded by Vice Chair Armstrong. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Our next item is to approve the agenda. If there are any members who wish to move anything from the consent agenda and for more discussion, this is you have that option to do this right now. And otherwise, I'm going to ask for a mover of the agenda. Mayor Guthrie, seconded by Vice Chair Armstrong. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Chief Kobe, could you please, the first item is the Human Resource Strategies Annual Report. Could you please open our discussion for that, please?
Yes. Everybody can hear me, right? Okay, we're making progress. Kelly, I think Kelly really needs no introduction in the Guelph Police Service. Kelly's been leading our HR team for a long, long time, but Kelly's going to walk you through our 2023 HR annual report, and a tremendous amount of work goes into this report every year. So Kelly, I'll turn it over to you, and then certainly between Kelly, Daryl, Steve, and I, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. I have the pleasure this afternoon of presenting the 2023 Human Resources Annual Report. In 2023, our authorized complement increased by 1 sworn position and 4 civilian positions from the previous year to 223.5 full-time equivalents for police and 118.9 full-time equivalents for civilian. I will start with highlighting that in 2023, we celebrated 42 civilian and police members who reached service milestones of between 10 and 35 years of service with Guelph Police, as well as 16 members or teams that received internal awards of recognition and 4 who were recognized externally. In addition, 4 police and special constable members were recognized with their Police or Peace Officer Exemplary Service Medal for 20 years of service in an exemplary manner by the Governor General of Canada in 2023. Civilian and police recruitment continued to be a key focus of both the HR and professional development and recruiting teams as we worked to attract, recruit, and select candidates for rewarding careers with our service throughout 2023 and to be prepared for 2024 recruiting needs. This included 50 hours spent at 12 organized recruiting events during the year. In 2023, we received 147 police cadet applications and 11 applications from experienced police officers who were interested in a lateral transfer to our service. While application levels were lower in 2023 2023 than previous years. We were able to achieve our goals of filling the vacancies we had with qualified candidates. In 2024, we are trending towards pre-pandemic application levels and continue to be able to fill vacancies with excellent candidates and meet hiring requirements and objectives. In 2023, we onboarded 9 police recruits who attended OPC for their initial period of training before returning to be sworn in as police constables, and 1 experienced police constable who transferred from another service. In 2023, we had a total of 846 applications for 12 different civilian external postings during the year, submitted for a variety of positions, such as police communicator dispatcher, special constable, and intelligence analyst. For the 12 civilian postings, there was over 9,000 views, with the top viewed posting being the information processor clerk and police communicator dispatcher. Social media continued to be a key strategy used to promote employment at our service in 2023, and we continued to see increased growth with followers and views. This included creating and posting graphics for all civilian job postings for police positions, as well as to promote outreach programs such as the Youth in Policing Initiative. In addition, our media unit used social media accounts during the year to give exposure to employment at GPS by highlighting the work done by our officers and civilians, by advertising opportunities to learn more about GPS, such as through our open house and Women in Policing Symposium, and through promotion of GPS participation in cultural and community events. An ongoing focus on member skill and career development continued in 2023. Some of the career and professional development highlights in 2023 include that we concluded a police promotional process, which resulted in 23 members successfully achieving a position in the promotional bank to fill future vacancies in the ranks of sergeant, staff sergeant, and inspector. A few examples of leadership training in the year included a Guelph Police Service hosted leadership symposium, leadership in a police organization training, completion of the OACP Rotman's Police Leadership Program by 3 leaders at the service, a communication supervisor course, and attendance at an OACP leadership forum. Equity, diversity, and inclusion continue to be common themes in much of the work that PDRU and AHR have been involved in. Our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, which includes approximately 20 members from across the organization, including 2 members who sit on a provincial OACP EDI network committee, continued their important work in 2023 that fosters workplace belonging and inclusiveness. In 2023, committee participation in training included attendance at various conferences and training events and various cultural celebrations. 2023 was the first full year since the 2022 launch of a Women's Internal Support Network. Accomplishments for this committee include a Partner with Purpose program, which through a collaboration with Immigrant Services Guelph Wellington, a volunteer officer or civilian is partnered with a newcomer to Canada to help them develop a better understanding of police in the community. Various fundraising events were held that provided engagement within the service amongst members and raised money for community programs. The WISN partnered with our recruiting unit to host a successful women's symposium in 2023, and the WISN organized and hosted a guest presentation with the first female police chief in Canada. In 2023, in addition to supporting our police and civilian members with leaves required for work-related, non-work-related, parental, and other supportive leaves, as well as meaningful modified work opportunities, we work to develop a supportive staffing program. This program has allowed our service and community to take a leadership role to support our community, our members actively at work, and our members requiring leaves. As a board and service, we can be proud of the leadership role that we are taking in this area. Guelph Police Service continues to be committed to member health and safety and safeguarding to provide resources, supports, programs, and continued education and wellness initiatives to support member health, safety, and well-being. In 2023, the dedicated peer support team continued their work to provide peer-based and led support to our members, police and civilian, who attend or have exposure to difficult calls for service, 2023 was a year of growth with new supporters onboarded to expand the team, as well as activities that focused on training and development of the team. In 2023, this team made 196 police member and 89 civilian member contacts and hosted 6 critical incident debriefs. Recognizing the importance of members and their family having access to information outside of our internal networks, in 2023, we developed and launched a secure access page on our website to allow members and their families to access important information regarding supports. With the help of our talented IT co-op students and GPS IT staff members, we created and rolled out a new injury reporting app that streamlined the injury reporting process, reduced paper, ensures notifications are made to supervisors, and provides better access to information for analyzing and reporting injury data. New respirator training was created and facilitated in 2023, along with updating of health and safety orientation training, as well as ongoing work on the important designated officer process and training. In 2023, the overall attrition rate was 4.67%. Of the 16 members that make up this rate, half were due to forecasted retirements and 2 resigned for transfers to other services. Of the 6 resignations that were not for lateral transfers, 1 was a police officer making a career change, and 5 were for civilians relocating and or making a career change. It is expected that over the next 5-year period, we could see 13 civilian and 36 police retirements, in addition to 20 resignations, which the senior leadership team continues to strategize to manage these anticipated gaps. More details can be found in the report, including participation rates and year-over-year changes in the appendix. Do you have any questions?
Vice Chair Armstrong?
Thank you. And thank you, Kelly. That was an excellent report. And it's a lot of great work going on in the human resources area. So thank you so much. Just a couple of questions. You referenced the attrition rate. Do we know how the attrition rate in GPS compares to our comparator services? Are we on the same mark, or are we greater or less than other services?
I'm not sure, but I would be happy to get some data on that and report back.
That'd be great. Thank you. The other question I had was just a clarification question. In the early part of the report, there's a reference to maternity leaves, and there's a statement that due to resource constraints, we can't backfill them. And then later on in the report, there is a suggestion that some of them are somehow backfilled or supported. So could you just clarify, what do we do in the instances of maternity leave?
Sure. So maternity parental leave duration can vary. So we can see usually it's at least 5 weeks for parental leave where the non-birth parent is taking a leave, up to 18 months for a birth parent, potentially up to that period of time. Historically, for police officers, we have not backfilled those positions due to the requirements for training, of course, and due to the understanding that these individuals are usually coming back to work after their leave concludes. With civilian positions, we do generally backfill the positions with temporary contracts under our civilian collective agreements.
Okay. And if we're not backfilling, are we I just want to make sure that we're certainly encouraging our members that, they're not feeling that they're not, that they're leaving their other colleagues without enough support so I just want to make sure that we're not, I understand why we're doing that. I just want to make sure that it doesn't provide some sort of stress to someone who wishes to take leave for that instance.
Absolutely. And I do believe that our senior leadership team and supervisors do fully support our members taking these leaves. And any staffing challenges that may exist because of that, they work on strategies to be able to manage that. I'm not sure if the chief or one of the deputies has anything to add on that.
No, I would. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
We've got it figured. I would say I would agree with Kelly. However, I think, and that's why we're so grateful of all the work the board has supported us, because I think if we can get to a place and we're on that path, we don't want people having to ask that question or think, should I take that leave? So do I think that never happens? I think that would be naive right now. But I think with all the support you've been giving us with our plan moving forward, we can reduce ever putting someone in that situation where they would ever hesitate to take such important leave for fear of leaving their team short-staffed. Daryl, Steve, any thoughts?
I would just comment that certainly I think the culture within our organization is very supportive for those types of leaves. They do at times create some challenges, but we certainly try and work around them as best we can if we can plan for them. But yeah, as a general statement, I'd say, yeah, the culture here is very supportive of those types of leaves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd like to thank Ms. McEwen very much for your presentation, and thank you very much. Very well appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the 2023 annual report. Chief Kobe, could you please lead us off on this matter?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'd like to just start by highlighting the work of many people that has gone into this. Several of them are available online. So if we have any questions, I may get a real expert to answer the question if I can't answer it for you. I'd like to start by, so the new Police Services Act mandates that we have our annual report completed and available to the community by June 30th. So the annual report that I'm going through, that you each have a copy, will be uploaded to our website in the coming days prior to that June 30th. And Scott will be sure to update both the community and our media partners when that's uploaded to our website. Some of the things, I'm going to just go through a few highlights and then open it up to questions. 2023 saw a lot of change, a lot of growth. One of which is the introduction of I would say the reinstatement of our second deputy chief position, Deputy Chief Gill. And that was part of all the KPMG work and the modernization and growth of the plan over the next several years. We've talked a lot about the community safety needs, but 2023 saw our greatest number of positive, proactive interactions with our community. I can't go through them all, but our Citizens Police Academy, our youth engagement program, we had the largest involvement of our youth engagement program before. 2023 also saw our community policing through environmental design program. So that's where a member of our community can request an officer come to their house or business to get advice on how to make their property more secure, everything from cameras to lightings to other suggestions. Last year, after a few years of not being able to host because of COVID, we hosted our May Family Fun Day. We had over 400 residents of our community come to our headquarters to interact with our K9 unit and many other service units. And what's so important is that in addition to learning what our service does, we really want our community to meet our members and to learn about our members as moms and dads, coaches, volunteers, as well as police officers. Another very important thing for 2023 was our downtown supplemental staffing initiative. That was a pilot that you supported, and that led to many, many more interactions with our downtown. It also provided the data required to increase the resources that we now have available to the downtown. I think it's safe to say that also played a big part in the support for bringing
Chief Kobe, we've lost your sound.
I promise I don't touch anything and it just stops working. So we're going to have to get this fixed. And I think all the work in the downtown led to a dedicated impact person downtown. So there's been so many positive that have come out of that. Internal supports, Kelly alluded to it at a high level in her report, but our service and our board is one of the few in this province that is leading and implementing a supportive staffing program. And I think the whole community can be proud of that. And to Ms. Armstrong's point, whether it be parental leaves, maternity leaves, or just wellness leaves, we shouldn't have people who need time away second guessing taking that leave for fear of leaving their colleagues under resourced. So that's a huge piece of that. We also are grateful to the provincial government. We secured a lot of grants in 2023, our victim support grant, our CCT grant, auto theft, mobile crisis response team, and other. That helps us provide more resources with those grants in a way that we wouldn't have been able to without that support. Our calls for service in 2023, we were at 84,000, slightly over 84,300 and change. That's about 10,000 more than we had 5 years ago. So those calls for service have continued to grow. And I pointed this last week at council. In a year when we had the highest number of calls, we also had the highest number of proactive engagements with our citizens. And I really think that's an important testament to the work that our members and the service is trying to do. Response times last year, they were up 5 seconds from the year before to 6 minutes and 15 seconds for priority 1 response times. That's still a minute faster than the 7:15 from 2020. So while it's important, we need to keep an eye on things. The trajectory, it's a positive trend from where we were a few years ago. I'm going to come to Steve to talk about some of the serious crimes against persons, but where we did notice some significant increases, I'm going to go to Highway Traffic Act offenses. Our community has told us time and time again that safe roads are a priority. We saw a 351.9% increase in motor vehicles not currently with not valid plates. And I think that's a combination of the no stickers now, as well as the grant we received from the government for automatic license plate readers. So now, like if a car is not registered, then an officer can know based on those automatic license plate readers. So that's something we wouldn't have been able to do even a few years ago. We experienced, and Steve will touch on this, we had an unprecedented number of homicide investigations last year, but we also saw some improvements in areas, break and enters. We saw a reduction in break and enters, a reduction in thefts, and some mischief related calls. And again, some of the investments we've made in a couple of our break enter auto theft team, some of those things, I think we're starting to see the benefits of those. Still work to do, but certainly we're making progress in those areas, whether it be our break and enter team, our downtown team. When we invest, we see results. And so I think that's positive metrics. Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you for just high level observation as far as serious persons crimes, other major investigations.
Thank you, Chief, and through you, Mr. Chair. Overall, we've seen a slight reduction in crimes against the person numbers, which I think is fantastic and is a testament to the community, I would say. But although we've seen these slight decreases, I certainly still have some concerns. As the chief mentioned, certainly last year we had an unprecedented year with homicides, domestic homicide, a couple of homicides that are directly linked to drug subculture, a human trafficking related homicide. These are all, I think, very concerning for the community. The costs of these homicides, I look back and I think I had mentioned this to Councillor Alt at one point when we had a meeting because he had asked about, or somebody had asked within the community about the cost of homicide investigations and how they impact the budget. And there, of course, is a significant impact every time we investigate a homicide. These calls for service are extremely, extremely resource intensive. And not only from a financial perspective is it costly, there's court process, court prep, that all impacts that. But certainly from a human perspective, it impacts our community. Obviously it impacts people's feeling of being safe. It impacts families. It does have a shake impact to the entire community. So that's somewhat concerning. The other cost that I see is the cost on our members. Anytime one of these calls come in, it's a call to action, if you will, for our members. And quite frankly, we are not resourced to handle that number of serious investigations, that number of homicides in a given year. And what happens is we have to rely on the dedication of our members to be available to come in and work the overtime that is required to handle these cases. And it's a big ask on them. And, quite honestly, I know I speak for the chief and the deputy on this. We're certainly proud of our members and the commitment that they showed in 2023 in handling the number of homicides that we did have, and with very successful outcomes for most of these investigations. But it's very costly. The other thing I would say, and I think, I don't want to dwell on it too much, and you heard Mel talk about it, and Detective Constable Curry, when it comes to human trafficking and IPV, these are areas where I think we're just scratching the surface to what's out there. And I am, I would say I'm very hopeful in the future with certainly the support of the board and the plan that we have moving forward that we're going to be able to better address some of these areas in the future. So those would be my comments on our serious crime situation.
Okay, and then Mr. Chair, I guess my final observation, those who see our annual report this year, the one difference they're going to note is the last 10 pages of the annual report. Every year you get a board report about our annual use of force stats. And one of the things we've tried to do is make our annual report comprehensive. And our annual use of force, that's an important subject that our community often has interest in. So this year, rather than a public open board report, we've incorporated that information into the last 10 pages or so of our annual report. Because I think the importance of that discussion, as well as the transparency and ease of access for both our community and our media partners. So that's why you see that as part of the annual report. Overall, last year, the Guelph Police Service, as I mentioned, we had slightly over 84,000 calls for service. Of those, 107 incidents led to either one or more levels of force being used to resolve that situation. What we've tried to do throughout the 10 pages in the annual report is to provide not only a lot of information, but a lot of context around that. So for each of those 107 incidents, you can see kind of the situation, what was the type of occurrence, was it initiated by a citizen, and then the intervention option, as well as whether the subject was like local or outside of our jurisdiction. So again, not unlike information you would have seen previously, but it's been included in the annual report versus a board report. And it will be moving forward. So I'll stop there because that was a lot and open it up for questions.
Okay, any members have any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to thank the chief and all the staff of the service involved in putting together this annual report, and perhaps more importantly, all the members of the service, both civilian and uniformed, who have provided this service to our community. We are a community that's very well serviced by the professional police service and all the civilians who back them up. And just want to make, on behalf of the board, I want to show our appreciation for that. Chief, if I can turn you over for your monthly report.
Sure. And I just have a couple quick items this month. Firstly, I wanted to remind our community of our new buy and sell zone that's been launched near the office. So right by our garage bay doors on Fountain Street now, there's signs that mark kind of like a buy-sell zone. And the purpose is to provide the community a safe option and increase peace of mind when they're buying, selling, or trading property online. So this area is covered by our video surveillance. It's obviously not monitored by our members. It's important to note that we're not responsible for the transactions or the trades that happen, but sometimes I think people like the peace of mind of being able to meet someone they don't know for the purposes of those transactions at our office. So that's now easy to find right by our office. And the only other thing.
Sorry, are blenders excluded from that zone?
I haven't seen the mayor there yet, but the only other thing is as the summer season starts, I wanted to really remind our community to visit our community policing website. And if you have an event that you would like one of our members to participate in, you can literally go and there's a link there to request our attendance. We really do want to find opportunities to participate at whatever event. And so I just wanted to remind the community of both our interest and the ease with which you can request our attendance. And with that, you've got me kind of, I lost my train of thought there, Mr. Chair. You got me.
I apologize for that.
That's all I have, folks, for the month.
I apologize for that attack on the blender safety of the community. Okay, are there any questions for the chief arising out of that report? Hearing none, I'll ask if there's any new business. Okay, hearing none, I'll declare that closed. And our next open meeting is going to be held Thursday, July 18th at 2:30, held via Teams and live streamed on YouTube. At this point, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mayor Guthrie, seconded by Mr. Sharma. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.